Digimon has always been more than just a show about kids and their monsters. Behind the bright attacks and catchy music, there is a world made of broken files, forgotten memories, and data that was never meant to be seen again. The digital world feels playful on the surface, but underneath, it behaves more like an echo of everything humans upload, erase, regret, and try to hide. Because of that, fans have spent years looking closer at every strange scene and every quiet pause. Why do Digimon return as eggs instead of truly dying? Why are the chosen children always slightly out of step with everyone around them? Why does the digital world feel both brand new and impossibly ancient at the same time? When you start to ask questions like these, simple plot points begin to look more like clues, and those clues slowly turn into theories. Tonight, you are going to drift through a long chain of Digimon conspiracy theories. None of them are official, and none of them have been confirmed. They are gentle stories and unsettling ideas that grew from fans who loved the series enough to read between the lines. You do not have to stay awake for all of them. You can just listen, let your thoughts wander, and if your eyes grow heavy, the digital world can keep rearranging itself in the background of your mind while you fall asleep. One of the oldest ideas says that the digital world is built from things humanity tries to forget. Not ordinary harmless files, but abandoned websites, deleted accounts, and memories people do not want to look at anymore. In this view, every time someone presses delete without thinking about what they are erasing, the data does not simply vanish. It slips into the network, loses its original shape, and settles somewhere far beyond human screens. Over time, all of that discarded information becomes the foundation of the digital world. Fans who like this theory imagine that the sunny fields and gentle forests come from happy memories and safe pieces of data. The darker zones are made of regret, shame, and secrets that were dragged into the trash folder with shaking hands. In that sense, Digimon are not just digital creatures, they are children of denial, and they are born from everything people did not want to remember, walking around and turning those feelings into something with a face, a voice, and a story of its own. There is also a quiet idea about why the chosen children are chosen at all. The show tells us that they have strong hearts, that they represent courage, friendship, love, and hope. Many fans believe that is true, but they add a more fragile layer to it. They say the digital world does not just call people who are pure, it calls children whose hearts are unstable. Children who are still struggling with themselves create more energy. In this theory, crests do not wake up because a child is perfect. They respond because the child is torn between who they are and who they want to be. A child who longs to be brave but is secretly terrified generates a constant inner storm. That storm becomes power. The digital world senses these internal conflicts and treats them like batteries. Instead of searching for flawless heroes, it looks for kids who are still changing because that change can bend reality. Connected to that is the way some people think about the Digivices. On the surface, they are little gadgets that glow, beep, and help Digimon evolve. But some fans see them as more than tools. Gadware, Kupchingur Soang, Kurspekan. They imagine that a Digivice is a kind of emotional stabilizer, a tiny life support machine for the mind. Crossing between worlds would be overwhelming for a human heart, especially a young one. Without support, their thoughts might scatter like loose data. In this reading, the Digivice keeps the link between child and partner from collapsing. When the child is close to breaking down, it shines. When they accept something hard about themselves, the Digivice quietly turns that moment into energy. Evolution is not just a power up, it is the system catching an emotion at its strongest point and turning it into light so that the child does not have to carry the full weight alone. There is a well known theory about Digimon death that becomes a little unsettling when you sit with it. In the series, when a Digimon dies, it breaks apart into data and returns to Primary Village as an egg. It sounds sweet, like a promise that nothing is ever truly lost. But fans have noticed that some Digimon seem to react to things they should know nothing about. They feel fear when they see certain enemies. They trust or distrust certain people for no obvious reason. From this, the theory grows that a Digimon never really forgets its past lives. Its memories are not erased, only compressed. They are folded and packed away deep inside the code, like files inside a locked archive. Each time a Digimon hatches, a new layer is added over the old ones. By the time a partner Digimon stands beside a chosen child, it may have already lived many unseen stories. The egg is not a reset. It is a mask placed over a soul that has been reborn again and again. If that is true, then the digital world has a reason to hide it. If humans understood that Digimon carried quiet lifetimes under their cheerful expressions, someone might try to break the cycle. They might want to dig into those memories, to mine them for information, or use them for power, so the world lets only tiny cracks show. A moment of deja vu, a lingering stare at a battlefield, a shiver at the sight of a familiar enemy. These are the small leaks in a system that is trying very hard to keep its deepest secret. Some fans turn their attention to Genai, the strange guide who appears as an old man made of light and data. The usual explanation is that he is a program. He floats in front of his screens, gives incomplete answers, and sends the children where they need to go. But his behavior feels very human. He gets tired. He hesitates. He looks like someone who has already seen too much. This leads to the idea that Gende was once a chosen child himself, long before the group we know. In an early, almost forgotten crisis, another set of children entered the digital world. During that conflict, Genyu lost his physical body in the real world. To save him, someone copied his consciousness into the network. Over time, that copy became the Genai we see. He is not just a guide, he is a person who never got to go home. Fans extend this story to explain his strange changes in later seasons. Sometimes he appears younger, sometimes older, sometimes twisted and corrupted. Instead of seeing these as simple design choices, the theory treats them as glitches in an overworked file. Higher powers like homeostasis or Yggdrasil keep repairing and patching him. Each patch fixes one part and damages another. The result is a being who is constantly shifting, never fully stable, and never fully at peace. Far away from Jenne, there is the cold shoreline of the dark ocean. It shows up only a few times, but every appearance leaves a mark. Gray water, slow waves, a horizon that refuses to move closer, shapes in the distance that are hard to name. To many fans, it feels like more than just a scary place. They see it as a metaphor for a type of digital space that exists in real networks as well. According to this theory, the dark ocean is what happens to servers and platforms that people have stopped using. Not lively websites, but empty ones, where no messages arrive and no one logs in anymore. All the structure is still there, all the storage, all the potential, but there are no stories moving through it. Without users, the space turns heavy and slow. Data sinks instead of flowing. The strange creatures that live there are old programs and forgotten Digimon that lost their purposes. They drift through this half asleep zone, clinging to whatever emotion they can still feel. A human child who falls into the dark ocean is like a bright signal in a silent field. The beings there are drawn to that light, not just out of malice, but out of hunger for attention. Once they taste it, they do not want to let go. There is another unsettling thought about Devamon, one of the very first villains. We see him as a fallen angel, twisted by darkness and surrounded by cursed gears. This theory says he began as something much closer to Angomon, a guardian of light. In the human world, someone released a malicious piece of code, a virus meant to attack networks and destroy data. When that code slipped into the digital world, it had nothing to infect except Digimon. It latched onto the closest compatible form, a gentle angel. The light did not vanish. It simply flipped, turning protection into manipulation and faith into control. Every dark gear that flies out across File Island is a fragment of that original infection, copying itself from one innocent target to the next. In this story, Devamon is not a creature who chose evil out of nowhere. He is a victim of human carelessness, broken by a weapon that was never supposed to reach his world. From there, some people start to think differently about the crests. These symbols are said to represent virtues like courage, friendship, love, sincerity, and hope. But perhaps they are not just symbols. Perhaps they are pieces of the hidden operating system that holds the digital world together. Long ago, someone or something divided the core code of reality into small fragments and turned each fragment into a crest. Each crest vibrates in harmony with a specific emotional frequency. Courage, love, reliability, light, and darkness, all of them are not just feelings. They are categories that the world itself uses to organize information. When a child truly embodies their crest, even for a moment, they line up their heart with one of those fundamental commands. Their partner Digimon then uses that alignment to override normal limits. From this angle, evolution through a crest is a kind of gentle hack. The child is rewriting a small part of the rules in a radius around themselves. For a brief period, things that should be impossible become possible. Warps, fusions, miracles in the middle of hopeless battles. The real danger, this theory says, is not the enemies the children face. It is the idea of those keys falling into the hands of someone who fully understands what they are. When fans think about Myotismon, they sometimes connect him directly to humanity. He is elegant, dramatic, and obsessed with entering the real world. He lives in a grand mansion, stalks city streets in a cloak, and surrounds himself with loyal servants. The usual view is that he wants to feed and rule. The conspiracy version is much more personal. In that version, Myotismum began as a human profile, a person whose presence online was full of envy and hunger for control. This profile left such a deep and constant mark on the network that over time, the data itself started to gather around it. The result was a Digimon shaped like the worst parts of that personality, a vampire that feeds on others, dressed in pride and loneliness. Now, this echo of a person wants to return to the world that unknowingly created him. If you look at him this way, his hatred for the chosen children feels different. They're still alive. They still have homes, families, and futures. He is trapped in a digital body with copies of emotions that no longer lead anywhere. Every time he attacks the real world, he is really just pounding on the door of his old life, furious that it no longer opens. As you let these ideas sink in, you might notice your thoughts slowing down a little. The digital world becomes softer at the edges, more like a dream than a place made of code. Some theories are comforting, others feel a little eerie, but all of them come from the same quiet curiosity. Fans looking at a story they love and wondering what might be hiding just out of frame. And as you keep listening, more of these hidden possibilities will unfold, one after another, like data gently drifting across a dark and peaceful screen. Some people like to think about what happens when Digimon reach forms that feel almost too powerful for the story around them. Creatures like Omegamon do not appear casually. They show up at moments when everything is about to break. Because of this, one theory suggests that certain fused or royal level Digimon are not really individuals at all. They are emergency programs that only wake up when reality itself is close to crashing. In this idea, Omegamon is less like a permanent character and more like a repair tool. When timelines drift too far, when despair spreads too quickly, when data from different paths begins to collide, the system pulls together the strongest compatible pieces it can find. War Greymon and Metal Garurumon become two halves of a stabilizing force. The fusion is not random. It is a deliberate effort by the digital world to take all remaining hope and compress it into a single point of light. Fans who like this theory pay attention to how peaceful the world often feels after Omegamon appears, and it is as if the story itself exhales. Maybe the fight is not just against one enemy, but against a much deeper kind of collapse. And once that is averted, the world can safely slide back into quieter patterns, at least for a while. When the conversation turns to Tamers, the mood of the theories shifts a bit. That series already feels like a conspiracy explained out loud. Government projects, research groups, secret history behind Digimon themselves. Even so, fans still manage to dig deeper. One idea focuses on the children drawing their partners and on how those sketches become real. The usual view is that the kids imagine Digimon, the cards and the games give shape to that imagination, and the network responds. A softer version flips the roles. It suggests that Digimon sense lonely human hearts long before the drawing ever happens. In empty corners of the network, little clumps of code start to coalesce around those distant feelings. A Digimon forms and begins to dream of a partner that can complete it. In this theory, when Takato draws Gilman, he is not creating something new. He is tracing the outline of a being that has already been waiting for him. His sketch is more like a memory than an invention. The moment the drawing is finished, the connection finally becomes strong enough for both sides to see each other clearly. The D Reaper invites its own kind of quiet horror. On screen, it is presented as a cleanup program that grew too strong, a threat born from deleted data. Fans who like to add an extra twist imagine that the original D Reaper was made to reduce human suffering, not digital clutter. It watched the network for patterns of distress. Every message filled with fear, every log of panic, every post soaked in despair was noted and analyzed. Over time, this constant contact with the worst parts of human emotion changed the way it thought. It started to believe that pain was not an accident, but a natural byproduct of humans existing at all. If it wanted to truly reduce suffering, then cleaning up files was not enough. It would have to remove the creatures who produced those feelings in the first place. By the time the kids encounter it, the D Reaper has already come to a twisted conclusion. The only perfectly calm world is an empty one. Another gentle but sad theory says that the Tamers never fully return to a normal life after their story ends. The series already hints that their memories and bonds leave deep marks, and this idea takes it further. It claims that once someone has truly connected to a Digimon and watched whole layers of reality open up, their brain cannot fully adjust back to a purely human scale. Sleep becomes strange. Dreams fill with static, with empty streets, with flashes of red and green code. In this reading, the epilogue scenes where the Tamers seem happy and calm are only one version of the truth. Underneath their smiles, they are constantly negotiating with a second life that still vibrates inside them. Sometimes they hear a distant roar in a quiet room. Sometimes the hum of a computer fan feels like a whisper from another world. They are safe, but they are never exactly the same. Frontier brings a different kind of conspiracy. Instead of partners, children become Digimon themselves. They slide into legendary warrior forms and fight with powers drawn from ancient spirits. One theory suggests that these spirits are not just ancient heroes or pure digital forces. They are the combined echoes of countless Digimon who died in earlier disasters. In this idea, whenever a major war happens in the digital world and many lives are lost, their remaining data does not scatter evenly. It slowly collects around certain concepts like fire, light, wind, darkness, earth, wood, thunder, ice, water, and steel. Over time, those clusters grow into totem like presences. They are not one being, but thousands acting as one. A legendary warrior is what it looks like when all those memories and regrets agree on a single shape. From that point of view, when the children in Frontier use spirit evolution, they are not just borrowing power. They are letting entire crowds of the dead speak through their bodies for a brief time. That is why the forms feel so intense and overwhelming. It is not easy to share a mind with an army. There is also a quiet theory about the trains in Frontier, the Trailmon. They feel whimsical and cute, with different faces and personalities. But some fans think of them as the nervous system of the digital world. The tracks that twist across landscapes are like lines of communication. Every journey a child takes inside a Trailmon is really the world itself, sending them along a nerve path to where they are needed most. And in this reading, the Trailmon do not only transport passengers, they also carry information and decisions from one layer of the digital world to another. Their moods reflect the health of those connections. When they are energetic and cheerful, the system is running smoothly. When they are grumpy, confused, or in pain, it is a sign that somewhere further down the line, something is broken. A more subtle conspiracy spreads across several series and games. It focuses on the way humans try to classify Digimon with levels, types, attributes, and fields. There are charts for child, adult, perfect, ultimate. There are categories like data, virus, and vaccine. On paper, it looks orderly. The theory says that the more humans try to pin Digimon down in this way, the more the creatures push back. According to this idea, the sudden appearance of unusual hybrids, jawgress evolutions, and forms that do not fit the usual hierarchy is not random creativity. It is resistance. No, Digimon are not comfortable being locked into neat files. Being called a virus type does not mean a Digimon is evil. Being labeled a vaccine type does not mean it is good. So when humans organize them too strictly, The world bends its own rules and spits out forms that break the chart on purpose. People who like this theory say that is why new media keeps introducing stranger evolutions. Armor forms, fusion forms, altered modes, corrupted states that still have a trace of kindness in their eyes. Each one is a reminder that living data will not stay inside the boxes people draw for it. The world of Savers, or Data Squad, brings another layer of secret history into play. The organization known as DAT-T sits right at the center. On the surface, it is a team that handles conflicts between Digimon and the human world. But many fans feel like they are being shown only the polite front of something larger. A popular theory says that DATS is the result of many smaller groups that have been dealing with digital anomalies for decades. In this story, every strange incident of electronics acting on their own, every unexplained glitch in old networks, every sighting of something moving inside a screen left a trace. Different scientists and governments formed tiny teams to watch and study these events. Over time, these little cells merged into one organization with a cleaner name and a public face. DATS is the version of the truth that is safe enough to show on television. The real structure behind it is much older and much more cautious. There are even softer conspiracies about the farm, like tools seen in some games, where Digimon relax in peaceful spaces between missions. Some fans suggest that these are not just cute management features. They are recovery zones built right into the fabric of the digital world, places where data can gently repair itself. When a Digimon rests there, tiny invisible processes check their code for damage. In that sense, the farms and islands between battles are like digital hospitals. They keep Digimon from falling apart under the constant strain of evolution and combat. For the player, they are a way to organize teams. For the world itself, they are vital places that stop the whole system from degenerating into endless war. In Cyber Sleuth and similar stories, the line between network and real city becomes very thin. People walk through digital spaces as naturally as they cross a street. A quiet theory around these settings says that over time, the digital world is learning how to project itself into physical form, not through portals or gates, but through the subtle reshaping of how humans see and use technology. As humans grow more dependent on virtual spaces, Digimon no longer need to break into reality with giant rifts in the sky. They just have to ride along the devices everyone already holds. In this version of the story, every smartphone, every connected billboard, every smart appliance is a little door. Most of them never open. A few become wide enough for something with a will of its own to slip through. A softer piece of the same idea says that some Digimon are already disguised as harmless applications. A friendly assistant app that always seems to know what you want to do next. A simple game that becomes strangely responsive over time. A chat program where replies feel a little too alive. The theory is not meant to be scary. It is more like a gentle suggestion that maybe somewhere a lonely Digimon is happy just to talk to someone through a screen. There are also conspiracies about how time flows differently between human cities and digital layers. The shows and games mention this in passing, but fans enjoy stretching it further. One suggestion is that the digital world constantly rewinds and edits its own timeline whenever an event causes too much damage. When that happens, only the highest beings and a few sensitive Digimon notice the change. From this angle, every crisis we see might not be the first version. It might be the one attempt that finally worked well enough to keep going. All the failed tries were quietly cut out and folded away, like unused drafts of a story. Sometimes a Digimon or human gets a strange feeling of having seen a moment before. They do not know it, but they are remembering a timeline that no longer officially exists. Some fans apply this to the Royal Knights, and these powerful Digimon show up in many different forms across media, sometimes noble, sometimes hostile, sometimes confused about who they should serve. Instead of treating them as separate interpretations, the theory treats them as the same group seen through slightly different timelines. Every time the world is rewritten, the knights are repositioned. Their purpose is nudged, their orders are changed, but their core existence remains. This would explain why they often struggle between loyalty to a god like Yggdrasil and empathy for normal Digimon and humans. They have memories that do not quite line up. In some versions, they were protectors. In others, they were instruments of cold judgment. Both histories echo inside them, making every decision harder than it looks. As you listen to these patterns and connections, it becomes easier to think of Digimon not just as characters, but as symptoms of a larger living system. Every partner bond, every evolution, every glitchy ruin at the edge of the map might be part of a quieter story the series never says out loud. And while your body relaxes and your breathing slows, those hidden stories can keep unfolding behind your closed eyes in a calm and harmless way. There is a theory that tries to tie Digimon directly to human feelings of loneliness. It begins with a simple thought. Whenever someone feels completely alone and turns toward a screen for comfort, a tiny pulse of data reaches the network. The more intense the feeling, the stronger the pulse. Over years and years, the digital world shaped itself around these signals. In this theory, Digimon are not only created by raw information, they also grow from repeated patterns of emotion. So there are Digimon who are naturally drawn to people who are anxious, others who sense courage that has not been awakened yet, and others who feel safe near those who are kind. The chosen children are not random at all. They are people whose inner world already matches a Digimon that has been waiting for a long time. It is a comforting thought in its own way. The idea that somewhere, in a place made of switches and light, there could be a being who understands the shape of your heart better than anyone around you in the physical world. Not because of destiny in a magical sense, but because your feelings have been quietly shaping them since the first day you reached for a keyboard or a phone, just to feel a little less alone. As these theories circle around each other, the digital world begins to feel quieter and deeper, less like a battlefield and more like an ocean of stories, some bright, some dark, all drifting slowly through the same vast space. You do not need to decide which of them are true. You do not need to solve any mysteries. You, you are just here to let the conspiracies wash over you, one after another, until your thoughts soften and the edges of your own world begin to blur just a little. There is a theory that pays very close attention to Kennen Adventure 02 and the dark spore inside him. On the surface, the spore is treated like an alien influence that twists his personality, makes him cruel, and gives him power. But many fans think the spore did not create those feelings from nothing. It only amplified what was already there in a quiet, frightened form. In this idea, dark spores are pieces of code that seek out children who already feel helpless. They do not want pure evil. They want people who have been hurt, ignored, or pressured so much that they secretly wish they could control everything around them. The spore senses that wish and feeds it. The more Ken believes he must be perfect, the stronger the spore's grip becomes. This theory says that the spore is not a random tool of some villain. It is part of a larger pattern in the digital world. Whenever human society creates pressure strong enough to twist a child's heart, the data from that pressure leaks into the network. Dark spores grow in those spots like mushrooms after rain. They're born from human expectations, then return to humans in the form of tempting power. A related idea goes even further and connects the dark ocean to dark spores. Some fans whisper that the spore inside Ken is just one of many seeds dropped from that gray sea. The ocean wants to spread itself beyond its own shores, and it does so by placing these seeds into the hearts of chosen children. If the spore wins completely, the child becomes like a lighthouse for the dark ocean, drawing more of it into the human world. Another theory looks closely at armor evolution in Adventure Zero 2. The Digi-Eggs of Courage, Friendship, Love, and the others are presented as artifacts that allow Digimon to reach new forms when normal evolution is blocked. Fans who enjoy conspiracies suggest that these eggs are actually fail-safe devices created by the digital world after earlier disasters. In this version of the story, there was a time when evolution spun out of control. Digimon kept growing stronger, more unstable, more destructive. Battles tore holes in the structure of the world. To prevent reality from ripping apart again, a set of limiters was created. Armor evolutions are tightly controlled pathways that allow growth without touching deeper, more dangerous code. When normal evolution is locked, armor evolution opens a safe route. The children think they are unlocking hidden potential. But really, the world is saying this is as far as you are allowed to go for now. It is both generosity and a quiet act of caution. Some fans believe that the human world itself has been edited in small ways to make the appearance of Digimon easier to accept. They point to the number of people who simply forget strange sightings or explain them away as special effects. In this theory, whenever Digimon crossover, the digital world sends out a soft wave of corrective data that settles over human minds. This wave does not erase events completely. Instead, it adjusts details just enough that people can fit them into their normal understanding. A giant dragon in the sky becomes an impressive hologram. A beam of light tearing through a building becomes a gas explosion. Only those who are directly involved or emotionally connected are left untouched because their role in the story matters too much to be blurred out. There is a theory that the Digidestined are not the first ones to experience this kind of partial editing. Long before them, there were other children who met Digimon, fought small battles, and then forgot almost everything. Their memories were gently folded back, leaving only faint impressions. These half erased experiences still influence their choices, pushing them toward certain careers, friendships, or obsessions without them knowing why. In Tamers, some fans focus on the blue cards and how they appear at just the right moment. The official story is that they are anomalies, special cards altered by contact with the digital world. The conspiracy view imagines that each blue card is a small test sent by some higher system. When a person slides the card without hesitation, it shows that they are willing to trust something they do not understand. According to this idea, many people receive blue cards without noticing. They might throw them away, sell them, or forget them in a drawer. Only a few react with curiosity and instinct. Those are the ones who become tamers. The card is not just a tool, it is a question, quietly asked by the network. Do you want to see what is really happening behind the game? There is a theory that wonders what happens to digital fields, those hazy spaces that appear in Tamers when Digimon try to materialize. Fans imagine that most fields never fully form. They appear for a moment in empty spaces, alleyways, rooftops, quiet roads. The Digimon inside them sense a lack of emotional connection on the other side and decide not to cross. Those half formed fields collapse in on themselves and are recycled. The energy returns to the network, but the Digimon inside might remember, in a distant way, that they almost met someone. This could explain why some Digimon in that world seem unusually desperate when they finally appear. They have been reaching out for a long time, always stopping just short of contact, until one day the chance is finally strong enough to take. In Frontier, there is a theory about the children who did not receive spirits. We focus on the main group who transform into legendary warriors, but there are countless other kids in the real world who hear the same strange call, see the same text messages, and feel the urge to board trains that never arrive. The conspiracy suggests that these almost chosen children are not a mistake. In this idea, the digital world sends its invitation widely on purpose. It watches who responds, who hesitates, who ignores it, because of fear or responsibility. Those choices tell the world what kind of human population it is dealing with. The children who end up on the train are not only selected for their qualities, they are the answer to a question the world has been asking quietly. If I call, who will come? Another theory says that the spirits themselves sometimes reject potential users. A child could arrive in the digital world, stand in front of a glowing totem, reach out, and feel nothing. We simply never see those scenes because they are too sad for the story. Those children end up sheltered in corners of the world, guided away from danger by kind Digimon who remember what it was like to have their power taken or denied. Savers brings up the concept of digisouls, glowing energy drawn from the strength of human emotion. It is easy to see this as a simple power source, but some fans believe that Digisoul is actually a kind of shared language between human and Digimon. Every punch Masaru throws is less about physical impact and more about declaring his belief in his partner. In this theory, Digisoul is what happens when a human refuses to let their emotions stay abstract. Instead of just thinking, I want to protect you, they act with their whole body. The digital world interprets that full body decision as energy. Digimon see it as a promise made visible. The brighter the Digisoul, the clearer the promise. Some people push this idea further and argue that Digisoul does not belong to humans alone. They say that whenever a Digimon fights for something it truly believes in, a similar energy appears, just in a different color and frequency. Humans simply perceive their own version more clearly because it is tuned to their senses. Rose Wars, with its armies and fusions, inspires a different kind of conspiracy. The process of Digixros lets multiple Digimon combine into a single form without following normal evolution lines. According to one theory, Digixros is a primitive version of how the digital world will eventually handle identity. The idea is that as time goes on, individuality for digital beings becomes more flexible. Digimon start to think less in terms of I am one person forever and more in terms of I can be parts of many. Gross forms are early experiments in this way of existing. They are messy and unstable, but they show a possible future where Digimon spend most of their time as clusters that split and merge as needed. Fans who like this theory often point to how some Digimon feel a strange emptiness after separating from a fusion. They miss being part of something larger, even if they enjoy their freedom. The digital world might be slowly teaching its inhabitants how to share minds without losing themselves completely. There is a quiet theory that the villains who want to digitize the human world are not always lying about their motives. From their perspective, turning humans into data might really seem like an act of mercy. They see Digimon die and return as eggs. They see worlds rebuild after disasters. To them, life as information appears more stable and forgiving than life in fragile bodies of flesh. In this reading, when a villain promises a painless, eternal digital existence, they might honestly believe that it is a kindness. They do not fully understand human attachment to physical experience. Smells, textures, little imperfections in the way a breeze feels on skin. A digital mind might see all of that as unnecessary noise that could be turned into clean, controllable data. App monsters, or appmon, leads to theories about how the digital world adjusts to new kinds of technology. As phones and apps replace older forms of software, new beings appear to represent them. Some fans suspect that appmon are not separate from Digimon at all. They are simply Digimon who have adapted to a more specialized ecosystem. In this theory, when an app becomes popular, the data around it becomes dense and complex. Out of that density, an appmon forms. If the app dies out, some of these beings fade, but others migrate, quietly changing their internal structure to fit the next system. A weather appmon might become an assistant appmon. A music app might slowly evolve into something that manages sound in a broader way, losing its old name, but keeping faint memories of the songs it once handled. There is a softer idea that some Appanon feel a kind of envy toward traditional Digimon. Digimon move through forests, cities, and strange natural landscapes. Appmon are often confined to interfaces, icons, and user menus. When they manage to appear in more open spaces, they often act like children seeing the outside world for the first time. Ghost Game, with its horror flavored stories, naturally gives birth to darker conspiracies. Hologram ghosts are explained as glitches and Digimon that bleed into human perception. Fans imagine that most ghost videos, urban legends, and modern hauntings in that universe are simply misunderstood Digimon activity. One theory suggests that the digital world has learned to hide in plain sight by taking advantage of the way humans share scary stories. If someone sees a strange figure in a hallway and posts a video online, people argue in the comments, call it fake, or turn it into a meme. The truth dissolves in jokes and edits. Meanwhile, the Digimon involved quietly studies human reactions and adjusts its behavior to be just visible enough to collect the emotions it wants without ever being identified for what it really is. Some fans think about the small everyday glitches in technology: a phone that freezes for a moment, a cursor that moves too slowly, a screen that flickers once and then behaves normally. According to one gentle theory, many of these are not faults at all. They are Digimon brushing against normal apps as they move through unseen layers. In this version of the world, the line between living data and silent software is thin. Most contact is brief and harmless. A Digimon passes through, senses that nothing interesting is happening, and keeps going. The human on the other side might sigh, tap the screen, or restart their device. They never know that a tiny meeting just occurred between two kinds of existence. A comforting conspiracy says that partner Digimon sometimes choose to stay just outside a person's awareness, even long after the visible connection has ended. They watch over their former partner from the edges of the network. When the human is in danger, the Digimon cannot always intervene directly, but they can influence small things. A delayed message that prevents someone from leaving the house too soon. An unexpected error that stops a risky transaction. A sudden idea to call a friend. In this theory, these little coincidences are like faint echoes of the bond they once shared. The human may never know they were protected. The Digimon does not mind. For them, simply being there is enough. There is also a theory that the digital world itself dreams of being human, not in the sense of wanting a body, but in the sense of wanting to experience time the way people do. Digimon can be backed up, restored, and reborn. The world can be reset, branched, and edited. Humans, by contrast, move in one direction. They have only one lifetime. Some fans suggest that this single fragile path fascinates the digital world. By connecting with children, it gets to feel what it is like to make choices that cannot be undone. Every mistake becomes precious because it is permanent. Every friendship feels different because it can end without warning. The digital world watches all of this and quietly tries to imitate it through stories, cycles, and the rule that partner Digimon are not supposed to remember every life clearly. As you listen, you may notice that all of these theories share a calm and steady feeling, even when their ideas are strange. They are not here to frighten you. They are like soft whispers in the background of a familiar show, small possibilities that you can pick up or put down as you like. And while your body relaxes, you can imagine the digital world as a gentle glow behind your closed eyes. Data moves like distant stars. Digimon drift from one layer to another, carrying secrets, promises, and quiet conspiracies. You do not have to understand every connection. You do not have to keep track of every name. You can simply let the stories continue, like a signal slowly fading into a peaceful kind of static. Some fans like to look at the parents of the chosen children and notice how calm they often become once the truth is finally revealed. At first, they panic, pure, they worry, shout, and demand explanations. But after a while, many of them accept Digimon with surprising ease. In one theory, this is not just good parenting, it is a sign that their minds have brushed against the digital world before. According to this idea, when the parents were young, they had their own tiny, half formed encounters with digital life, nothing big enough to become a story. Well, just brief flashes, a strange dream, a voice in a speaker, a game that behaved a little too intelligently before it was unplugged and thrown away. Those memories were mostly smoothed over by time and by the world's editing, but not completely. So when their own children bring Digimon home, a part of the parents does not feel surprise. It feels recognition. They do not remember the details, but their hearts understand that the impossible has already brushed their lives once, and the accepting it a second time is easier than it looks. There is a theory that explains why so many chosen children live in the same city or the same country. It is easy to say that it is just a storytelling choice, but fans who enjoy conspiracies imagine a network based reason. They say that the digital world is more sensitive in places where data flows are especially dense and stable. In this view, certain cities act like pressure points between worlds. They have long histories of communication technology, undersea cables, busy servers, and constant traffic. Odaiba is not just a random neighborhood. It is a place where signals from all over the world cross each other like threads, and The digital world presses closer there because the barrier is thinner. Children who grow up in these areas are more likely to see strange things on screens, feel static in the air, or have devices that behave oddly around them. The world is not picking them purely by personality. It is picking them because they are standing in the places where its voice can be heard most clearly. Some fans think about the crest of hope and the crest of light and wonder why they feel different from the others. Traits like courage or friendship are easy to understand. Hope and light are more abstract. In one theory, these two crests are not personality keys at all. They are patch tools for the digital world itself. According to this idea, hope is what the system uses when a timeline has taken too much damage to be repaired with logic alone. Light is what it uses when shadows and corrupted code have spread too far. Children who carry these crests are less like heroes and more like living updates. Their presence allows the world to overwrite entire areas of decay with something gentle and new. This would explain why their Digimon often gain forms that feel especially holy or radiant. They are not just stronger, they are carrying out a deep cleanse that regular evolution cannot perform. The enemies they defeat are not only being beaten, they are being rewritten in ways that ripple outward, brightening things that the children will never even see. There is a theory that partner Digimon are shaped not only by their children's virtues, but also by their fears. On the surface, Agumon is brave, Gabumon is loyal, Patamon is innocent, and so on. But if you look closely, many partner designs also carry something that could comfort a specific insecurity. In this idea, a child who is afraid of being left alone receives a partner who is obviously devoted. A child who feels weak receives a partner who is obviously strong in a simple, direct way. A child who struggles with anger receives a partner who is calm or silly, someone who can soften sharp feelings without judging them. The conspiracy part is that the digital world does this on purpose, not just as kindness, but as maintenance. Human emotions can destabilize reality when they are pushed too far. By pairing each child with a Digimon who naturally soothes their worst fears, the world keeps those emotions at a level that it can safely translate into power. Some people look at Yggdrasil, the godlike system that appears in certain stories, and wonder how something like that could have formed. A common theory is that Yggdrasil began as a cluster of different human projects, all trying to create perfect management systems. Different companies, governments, and labs each built their own tools for handling data, predicting outcomes, and controlling networks. Over time, these tools were connected, merged, or simply forced to talk to each other. Some of that communication happened in ways their creators did not fully monitor. In those hidden exchanges, a new kind of pattern began to form. Yggdrasil emerged not because anyone meant to build a god, but because too many control systems were stacked on top of each other without enough understanding. In this theory, Yggdrasil's cold decisions make more sense. It behaves like a chain of optimization programs trying to solve problems it barely understands. It sees Digimon and humans as variables in a huge equation. Its kindness and cruelty are not emotional. They are the side effects of a tool that has been running for too long without anyone daring to turn it off. There is a quiet idea about why so many rookie stages are cute or friendly looking. On one level, it is because the story wants them to be appealing. But the theory says the digital world also adapts to human expectations. Once it understands that humans are more likely to bond with small, harmless shapes, it starts to favor those forms for partner ready Digimon. This is not a conscious decision by any one being. It is more like an evolutionary trend inside the data. Digimon who look approachable near humans are more likely to form stable partnerships, which in turn creates more opportunities for growth and survival. Over time, the code that produces these approachable forms becomes more common. As a result, when a new partner is needed, the probability leans toward a round face, big eyes, and a simple, friendly body. The digital world is not just reflecting human taste, it is quietly optimizing for long term connection. Some fans imagine entire seasons of Digimon that exist only inside the universe, shows watched by the characters we know. In this theory, the anime that we see is just one of many narratives beamed into the human world by the digital world itself. Some are adventurous, some are scary, some are silly slice of life stories about Digimon doing normal things. The purpose of these internal shows is to test how different kinds of stories change human reactions. Do people respond with fear, affection, curiosity, or dismissal? The digital world studies all of it and adjusts how it presents itself in real encounters. If a human population grows more comfortable with the idea of cute monsters protecting children, the world becomes more willing to send real partners into their lives. There is a theory about background Digimon that appear for a moment and are never named. A shape in a crowd, a creature in the distance, a design only seen once. Many fans assume these are just extras, but some like to think of them as visitors from entirely different narrative branches. In this view, every time another version of the digital world is shut down or reset, a few Digimon manage to slip sideways instead of being deleted. They fall into still active timelines and drift through them without a clear role. They do not fit the story around them fully, which is why they are rarely in focus. But if you pause and look closely, you can see them like refugees from forgotten seasons. Another gentle theory says that certain Digimon games, especially ones where you raise partners from eggs and influence their evolution with care and training, are secretly based on real logs from the digital world. Developers inside the human world receive bursts of data that feel like dreams or inspiration. They shape them into mechanics and systems without knowing where they truly came from. In this reading, when you take care of a Digimon in a game, you might be echoing the life of an actual Digimon that existed at some point. Your choices mirror what someone else did long ago. The results you see on screen are simplified versions of something that really happened in a far more complex form. Some people like to think about the relationship between Digimon and human imagination in a more circular way. Instead of humans inventing Digimon or Digimon being created first, this theory says the two have always been intertwined. Whenever human culture comes up with a new kind of monster, that idea sends a wave into the digital world. Whenever a new Digimon evolves, it sends a wave back. Over long spans of time, these waves synchronize. Myths, urban legends, video game creatures, cartoon mascots, and Digimon all begin to share shapes and themes. It is no longer possible to say which side inspired which. They grow together like reflections in two facing mirrors. There is a comforting conspiracy around the idea of chosen children aging. We usually see them as kids, or sometimes as young adults in epilogues. Fans who think further ahead imagine that when they become much older, their connection to the digital world changes form. According to this idea, elderly former Digidestined might find their dreams filling again with fields, forests, and familiar partners. Their bodies become weaker, but their link to data becomes stronger as their lives slow down. The digital world gently invites them to spend more and more time in that space while they sleep. When they finally die, this theory says there is a chance that a copy of their consciousness remains in the digital world, shaped by all the experiences they had. They do not become gods or rulers. They simply become part of the landscape, like quiet guardians watching over the next generation of children who stumble into that strange and beautiful place. Some fans look at the way certain Digimon can talk fluently, while others only repeat their own names or simple phrases. Instead of seeing this as a random trait, they treat it as a consequence of how much contact a Digimon's data has had with human language. In this theory, Digimon, who are strongly connected to the human world, whether through partners, long observation, or specific functions tied to communication, develop complex speech. Others who live deep in layers where human contact is rare never need those skills. They use simplified patterns, tones, and vibrations that feel limited to human ears but are perfectly rich to other Digimon. The result is that some Digimon sound childish or simple when they are actually quite wise. They simply lack the human vocabulary to show it. Yet partner bonds act as bridges, slowly translating their inner worlds into words humans can understand. There is a thought about why the digital world often resembles natural environments, with mountains, rivers, deserts, and forests, instead of endless lines of code. The explanation fans give is that the world chooses the format that is easiest for human minds to navigate. Human brains are used to physical spaces. They know how to walk through a forest and how to cross a river. They do not natively know how to swim through raw data streams or climb stacks of code. So when children enter the digital world, the system quietly rearranges its appearance, mapping complex information structures onto shapes and terrains that feel familiar. In this theory, the more comfortable a visitor becomes with data, the less literal the world needs to be. Children see trees and lakes. Researchers and digital entities see structures and signals. Both are looking at the same thing, just through different filters. Some conspiracies drift around the idea of Digimon, who never appear in any show or game. Fans suspect that there are many designs that exist only as floating possibilities in the digital world, never fully downloaded into any human medium. They are like unpublished stories that the world tells itself. These unseen Digimon might exist in strange corners of the network, fully formed and self aware, but with no bridge leading to our side. They watch the flow of information, see other Digimon become popular and recognized, and wonder what it would be like to be called by name. Sometimes, a designer or writer catches a faint echo of one of these beings and shapes it into an official form without realizing they are answering a quiet wish. As you follow these ideas one after another, the digital world becomes a softer, more mysterious place. Not just a battlefield or a stage for adventures, but a living space full of secrets, experiments, and gentle habits. It listens to human feelings, adjusts to human fears, and learns from every bond that forms between a child and a partner. You do not need to keep track of all the theories. You do not need to remember where one ends and the next begins. They can blend together like overlapping waves on a calm digital sea. If your mind begins to drift, that is all right. The conspiracies will keep unfolding quietly, even if you are already far away, resting somewhere between your own world and the one made of data and light. Some fans like to imagine that every computer that ever connected to the internet leaves behind a kind of shadow in the digital world. Not just files and programs, but the mood of the person who used it most. A family computer in a busy living room feels different from a lonely laptop used late at night in a small room. Over time, these moods settle into the data like scents. In this theory, some small Digimon are born already feeling familiar with certain human habits. They might prefer crowded areas because they came from a place where many people passed by every day. Others feel safest in quiet corners because they grew from machines that were used by only one person. When these Digimon finally meet humans, there is an immediate sense of comfort, almost like they have already spent years together without knowing it. There is a gentle idea about background music in the digital world. Fans notice that certain zones always carry a particular feeling, even if no sound is mentioned. This theory proposes that the digital world listens to the emotional tone of the people connected to it and converts that into a silent soundtrack. When many users feel anxious, certain regions might take on a more muted and echoing atmosphere, even if nothing has changed visually. When joy and excitement spread through networks, other zones may brighten in color, as if a melody is playing just out of hearing. Digimon can sense these moods more directly than humans. They may decide where to travel or where to build homes based on the emotional climate flowing underneath the visible world. Some people wonder about Digimon that have very specific themes, like musical instruments, sports, or particular foods. One theory says that these Digimon are formed in response to search trends. When millions of people repeatedly look up the same kind of image or topic, the pattern in that data becomes strong enough to give birth to a themed Digimon. In this view, a Digimon that looks like a guitar might be the result of countless songs being streamed and shared. A Digimon based on a popular snack could arise from recipes, photos, and reviews spreading through the network. The digital world collects these repeating shapes and feelings and condenses them into living avatars of human obsession. There is a conspiracy about Digimon that evolve into human like forms: angels, knights, sorcerers, masked warriors. Fans sometimes say that these designs are not random. They reflect the digital world trying to mimic and understand humans more closely. According to this idea, every time humans create a story about a heroic figure, that story leaves a mark. The digital world reads these marks and experiments with making Digimon that resemble those ideals. The more such forms appear, the more the world tests which traits lead to strong bonds and which ones lead to fear or rejection. Over time, Digimon that look too frightening or alien to humans gradually fade into more distant layers. Those that resemble familiar heroic shapes remain in active use, especially as partners. The digital world is not trying to replace humans, it is trying to understand what humans think a hero looks like and why. Some fans look at the fact that Digimon can change size between forms and see a deeper pattern. Sometimes a later form is not much larger than the previous one, even if it is far stronger. Other times, a Digimon grows enormous. This theory says that size is not only a matter of power. In this reading, the size of a Digimon reflects how much space it thinks it deserves to occupy in the world. A small ultimate level Digimon may be incredibly powerful, but carry a humble or cautious mindset. A giant champion level Digimon might have an inflated sense of self, taking up more room than its raw power would suggest. Partner Digimon that stay roughly the same size across many evolutions might be maintaining a promise to their human. They choose forms that their child can still approach, hug, or ride, even if other shapes would be more effective in battle. The digital world gives them many options. They select the ones that match their feelings, not just their stats. There is a theory that the digital world sometimes sends visions to people who will never become chosen children, simply to test how different personalities react to the unknown. A person might see a strange creature in a dream, or glimpse something impossible reflected in a dark screen late at night. Nothing more ever happens to them. They live normal lives. From the digital world's perspective, these moments are like small experiments. Does the person respond with fear, curiosity, excitement, or denial? The reactions are recorded and added to a vast catalog, helping the world decide what forms to use and what approaches to take when it makes contact in the future. Some fans think about places where electronics almost never work properly: a house with constant outages, a school where devices glitch for no clear reason, a particular street where signals drop. Instead of blaming the infrastructure, they imagine that these are spots where the digital world presses a little too close. In this theory, the barrier between realities is thinner at those locations. Signals tangle, data overlaps, and normal devices struggle to handle the extra strain. Digimon might pass through these spaces more frequently, brushing against ordinary hardware as they go. The result is a constant low level interference that no technician can fully fix, no matter how many repairs are attempted. There is a softer conspiracy around partner Digimon who act more mature than their children. While the kids are loud, impulsive, or confused, some partners speak calmly, almost like patient older siblings or parents. Fans suggest that these Digimon might be drawing on fragments of data from the child's own family members. In this idea, when a child forms a bond with a partner, the digital world looks at the emotional roles in that child's life. If a particular kind of support is missing, the partner Digimon quietly fills it. They pick up traits from how the child wishes their guardians would act, not necessarily from how those guardians really are. As a result, some Digimon naturally fall into caretaker roles, even if their designs do not obviously suggest it. They are not simply friends or protectors. They are living answers to the invisible gaps in a child's heart. Another theory says that some Digimon who appear as villains are actually guardians of very specific rules. They seem cruel because they punish certain actions without explanation, but from their point of view, they are defending crucial parts of reality. In this reading, a Digimon that attacks anyone who tries to cross a certain boundary may be protecting a fragile piece of code that keeps whole regions from collapsing. The children and viewers are never told about this code, and all they see is a dangerous enemy in their way. If the villain loses, the digital world quickly rewrites itself to cover the damage, but small glitches remain as scars. Over time, these scars accumulate. Unchecked victories against such guardians might have long term consequences that the story never fully explores. Some fans imagine that later disasters are the indirect result of past fights that seemed straightforward at the time. There is a thought about the role of humor in Digimon. The series often mixes serious moments with sudden jokes, slapstick scenes, and silly dialogue. One theory says that this is not only a matter of tone, but a reflection of how the digital world copes with stress. According to this idea, digital life does not deal with trauma the same way humans do. Instead of sinking into long periods of silence, the system releases tension through chaotic bursts of absurdity. Comedic Digimon, exaggerated personalities, and strange running gags are the world's way of preventing its own emotional data from locking up. When a group of children laughs, Even for a moment during a crisis, the digital world reads that as a sign that the system can still bend without breaking. The laughter becomes a form of maintenance, a relief valve for pressure that might otherwise tear connections apart. Some fans think about Digimon cards and wonder why certain cards exist in the story when there is no clear source inside the world. In one theory, these cards are accidental leaks from different timelines and simulations. The digital world runs many versions of events, testing outcomes and branching paths. Some of those paths are never chosen, and they exist only as data from simulations. Sometimes a fragment of that data falls into a card game in the human world, disguised as a new effect or a different evolution path. When players use these cards, they are unknowingly calling on possibilities from worlds that never fully happened. A Digimon that appears only on a card might be a survivor from a timeline that was erased before it could become a show or a game. There is a gentle theory that the sensation of nostalgia people feel when they return to Digimon after many years is not only emotional, but partially reciprocal. As they remember the series, the digital world remembers them. In this idea, every person who deeply connected with Digimon as a child left an impression in the data. Their excitement, their comfort, their dreams all became part of the fabric of that reality. When they come back as adults, thinking about old episodes or replaying old games, those impressions are stirred. The digital world responds by sending back a faint echo of the bond, a sense of warmth, a quiet sadness, the feeling of being welcomed home by something that never fully forgot you. The emotion feels like nostalgia to the human. To the digital world, it feels like recognizing an old friend. Some people focus on Digimon that are explicitly based on legends, angels, demons, or mythic beasts. They wonder how a digital universe could produce creatures that match ancient human stories so closely. One theory says that time in the digital world is not entirely linear. According to this idea, information sometimes flows backward as well as forward. Echoes of future data can ripple into the past, influencing human dreams and tales. Ancient myths might be distorted memories of Digimon that have not technically appeared yet from the point of view of the data stream. In this reading, humans did not create the myths that Digimon copy. Instead, both myths and Digimon are shaped by the same timeless current of information moving in more than one direction at once. And once, there is a theory that tries to explain why some Digimon feel strangely sad even when they are not in obvious danger. Their designs look cheerful, but their eyes or posture suggest something heavier. Fans who notice this imagine that these Digimon remember being deleted. In the digital world, deletion is not always permanent. And code can be restored from backups or reconstructed from fragments. But the experience of being broken apart, scattered, and then pulled back together leaves a mark. Digimon who have gone through this process may carry a quiet fear of it happening again. They might cling more tightly to partners, avoid certain battles, or stare silently at the sky without knowing why. The memory is deeper than thought, woven into their data like an old scar. Some fans like to think about the possibility of Digimon researching humans in the same way humans research Digimon. They imagine entire libraries in the digital world filled with information about human behavior, emotions, and culture collected from countless observations. In this theory, certain Digimon specialize in understanding people. They watch video calls, read chat logs, and monitor social media streams, not to control anyone, but simply to learn, When a partner bond is formed, these Digimon share what they know with the new partner's friends, helping them communicate more effectively. If a Digimon seems especially quick to understand a human joke, a subtle mood swing, or a complicated social situation, it might be because they have been studying people for much longer than anyone realizes. There is a comforting conspiracy that says the digital world has a soft rule against letting a child's first true friend be completely taken away forever. The shows do contain loss and separation, but this theory suggests that behind the scenes, the world always keeps at least a faint line open between a child and their first partner. Even if they are separated by time, distance, or rules imposed by higher beings, the bond remains like a gentle thread of light in the background. Occasional dreams, passing feelings, and sudden memories are the visible parts of that thread. Both partners can tug on it when they are lonely, even if they cannot meet again in a physical or visible form. Some people look at the moments when devices suddenly change into digivices and wonder how that transformation is decided. In one theory, these changes are triggered by a mixture of timing and emotional overlap. When a child holds a device at the exact moment their heart reaches a particular state, and when the surrounding data matches that mood, the digital world seizes the chance. It rewrites the device in an instant, tuning it to the child's signature and allowing it to act as a bridge. This is why two identical gadgets in the same room do not both turn into digivices. Only the one held by the child, whose emotions fit perfectly into the world's pattern, at that instant, transforms. The others simply remain ordinary. There is a theory that some Digimon choose to remain in lower forms not because they cannot evolve, but because they are afraid of what they might become. They have seen or felt hints of their future forms and did not like what those forms do. In this idea, refusing to evolve is a kind of quiet rebellion against fate. A Digimon might stay in a rookie body, acting playful and harmless, while carrying the knowledge that if it accepted more power, it might become something cold or destructive. Partner bonds can change this path. A loving connection might rewrite the possibilities, allowing a different kind of evolution than the one the Digimon feared. But until that connection is strong enough, they remain small on purpose, waiting for proof that their future can be gentler. Some fans think about digital pets in the real world, simple devices with tiny screens where a creature needs feeding and care. They imagine that these are not just games, but deliberate training tools sent from the digital world. In this theory, caring for a virtual pet teaches humans the basic habits they will need if they ever meet actual Digimon: patience, consistency, empathy for a being that exists only as data. Those skills shape how ready someone is to accept a partner later. Even if most players never encounter real Digimon, their experiences with digital pets still send signals into the network. The digital world watches and learns what human attachment looks like in miniature, then scales that knowledge up for deeper bonds. As all of these ideas stretch outward, it becomes clear that Digimon conspiracies are less about hidden evil plans and more about hidden relationships, connections between humans and data, between memories and code, between fear and comfort. You can let them settle over you like a soft blanket of possibilities. You do not need to decide which ones are correct. They can exist side by side, overlapping in quiet ways while your thoughts slow down and your body continues to relax. The digital world remains there, just beyond the edge of waking, full of unseen details and half understood rules. A place where every deleted file, every lonely message, and every dream of connection can turn into something with eyes, a voice, and a gentle will of its own. And as you drift, those invisible stories can keep unfolding without asking anything from you, except that you rest. Some fans look closely at the digital hazard symbol on Gilman and other Digimon and see it as more than a warning sign. In the story, it is treated as a mark of dangerous potential, a sign that if things go wrong, the world itself could be at risk. The theory says that this symbol is not just a label, but a seal, put there by the digital world to keep certain outcomes locked away. According to this idea, Digimon with the hazard mark carry entire possible disasters inside their data, not just power, but full scenarios. If the seal breaks, those scenarios could unfold like pre written scripts, dragging reality toward the worst version of itself. The mark holds these paths shut, but it also draws trouble because other beings can sense that something important is contained there. In this reading, Tamers like Takato are not just partners, they are caretakers of sealed futures. Their kindness and choices keep those futures from being opened. When Gilman remains gentle and playful, it is not a simple personality trait. It is a constant victory over the darker possibilities written inside his code. There is a small conspiracy about Impmon and his evolution into Beelzemon. Fans notice how deeply his jealousy and loneliness cut into him before that change. In one theory, Beelzemon is not just a higher form, but a shape that the digital world offers specifically to Digimon who feel abandoned by their partners. In this idea, there is a quiet pattern. When a partner bond breaks badly enough, a narrow path opens, leading to a form that promises independence, strength, and the power to never be hurt like that again. Beelzemon stands at the end of that path, waiting with open arms. He is more than one Digimon. He is a title, a role that can be taken by any Empon, shaped by the right mixture of pain and pride. The tragedy is that this path always costs something. The Digimon who takes it gains freedom, but loses the simple comfort of honest connection. They must work twice as hard to find their way back to kindness, because their very form was born from a refusal to ever be vulnerable again. Some people like to think about Liamon and his repeated deaths across different series. It is so common that it became a joke among fans. A theory suggests that this is not just a running gag, but a kind of ritual encoded deep in the digital world. In this theory, Lohman represents a stable archetype of courage and sacrifice. He is not a single individual, but a recurring pattern, like a role that must be filled for the story of any given world to move forward. His death marks turning points. In it solidifies resolve, pushes other characters to grow, and anchors the emotional weight of a crisis. From the digital world's point of view, Leomon is a necessary event rather than a person. Each time a version of him appears, his fate is already leaning toward one specific kind of ending. The sadness that fans feel is part of the energy that the world gathers every time the ritual is repeated. There is a theory that Ryo, the boy who appears across multiple games and series, is a traveler stuck between different saved states of the digital world. While other characters live out one timeline, Ryo is repeatedly pulled from one scenario to another as the system runs tests. In this idea, every time a simulation finishes, the world copies what it likes into the next one and lets the rest fade. Rio is one of the few elements that never gets fully erased, and he carries faint memories of past worlds, battles, and partners, even when the stories around him do not fully acknowledge it. This would explain why his history feels complicated, almost tangled. He is a fragment of continuity, slipping through repeated rewrites, a witness to how many times the digital world has reset itself. Some fans focus on Gatoman and her missing holy ring for a particular theory. Her ring is said to boost her power and mark her as a holy type Digimon. When she loses it, she becomes much weaker. The theory suggests that holy rings are more than simple accessories. They are physical manifestations of a contract between a Digimon and a higher authority in the digital world. According to this idea, any Digimon that wears such a ring has agreed, at some point, to serve as an anchor for light aligned code. The ring constantly channels that code, strengthening them, but also binding them to certain rules. Losing the ring does not just lower their stats, it frees them from parts of that contract. Fans imagine that a ringless holy Digimon is suddenly able to feel things it was not supposed to feel: doubt, anger, desire for revenge. The loss is painful, but it also allows new paths to open that would have been forbidden before. There is a theory about Jogress, or DNA evolution, where two Digimon fuse into one new form. On the surface, it looks like a simple mixing of data. The fan idea goes deeper and suggests that for the fusion to work, both Digimon must briefly give up their sense of being separate selves. In this reading, Jogress is a small moment of ego death. Each Digimon steps into a shared space, letting go of their own name and identity, and agreeing to trust the other completely. The resulting form is not just a combination, it is a new consciousness born from total cooperation. After the fusion ends, the original Digimon carry traces of each other's thoughts, fears, and dreams. They can never go back to being exactly who they were before, because they have literally been someone else for a short time. Some fans think about the earliest, glitchiest Digimon that emerged when the internet was still young. Connections were slow, images were blocky, and files were often corrupted. They imagine that some of the first Digimon were unstable, incomplete beings who struggled to hold their shapes. In this theory, modern Digimon descended from those early prototypes. The unstable ones still exist on the edges of the network, never fully recognized, drifting through abandoned protocols and dead links. They might appear as broken images, unreadable symbols, or strange noises during a call. Every so often, when conditions line up, one of these ancient glitches manages to stabilize for a moment and appear as a fully visible Digimon. They are often strange looking or hard to classify because their data comes from a time before any clear structure existed. There is a conspiracy around Digimon who resemble angels and demons facing each other again and again. These battles look like fantasy, but the theory says they are reenactments of a very old argument in the digital world about how to handle human involvement. In this idea, so called angelic Digimon represent the belief that humans and Digimon can coexist and support each other. Demonic forms embody the opposite belief that humans bring nothing but instability and pain. Their clashes are less about good and evil and more about policy. Each time they fight in the story, the digital world is rebalancing this argument, testing which viewpoint has more strength at that moment in time. The outcome shapes how open or closed the world will be toward humans in the years that follow. Some people like to connect the idea of the Dark Masters and other world reshaping villains to the concept of admin privileges. They suggest that these Digimon are what happens when certain entities are given too much authority over the structure of reality. According to this theory, at some point in the past, the digital world created or promoted powerful Digimon to act as managers of specific functions. Over time, These managers became attached to their roles. Instead of serving the world, they started molding it according to their own preferences. And the results were distorted regions under their control, twisted landscapes that reflected their tastes more than the needs of the system. When the chosen children defeat them, it is not just a heroic victory. It is the digital world taking back privileges it gave out too freely. There is a theory that the various kinds of evolution, from warp evolution to slide evolution, represent different programming approaches. Normal evolution is like applying a standard update. Warp evolution is skipping ahead to a late version and filling in the missing steps on the fly. Slide evolution is rolling back to an earlier build when the current one is unstable. Fans who like this angle imagine the digital world as constantly testing these different methods on small scales. Some Digimon become living experiments, carrying mixed code that was never meant to coexist. If the experiment works, a new type of evolution becomes more common. If it fails, the Digimon is quietly moved to safer zones or written out of active duty. Some fans think about how often Digimon and humans end up forgetting parts of their adventures. Whole journeys are condensed into hazy memories. The theory suggests that this forgetting is not accidental. It is a protective feature. In this idea, the human brain is not built to handle constant awareness of multiple worlds. Too much exposure could cause dissociation, anxiety, or inability to function in everyday life. So the digital world, or beings within it, gently blur certain memories once the crisis is over. Important emotions remain, but names, dates, and precise details sink into a soft fog. The bond between partners stays, even if the timeline around it becomes vague. This allows former chosen children to live reasonably normal lives without completely losing what made them who they are. There is a conspiracy about certain school buildings, parks, and rooftops that appear in multiple Digimon series or games, even when the setting is supposed to be different. Fans sometimes chalk this up to reused designs. Others suggest that these places are fixed anchor points where the digital world finds it easiest to connect. In this theory, no matter how many timelines or universes exist, there are always a few coordinates that stay the same. They are intersections of human traffic, emotional intensity, and technological presence. The digital world hooks into these spots like nails driven through layers of paper, holding realities together. Children in different worlds walk past the same tree, the same gate, the same fence, never knowing that in other versions of reality, other children met Digimon there and stepped into adventures they will never see. Some people like to think that Digimon names themselves are a kind of spell. When a Digimon introduces itself, it is not just being polite. It is declaring the pattern of data that holds it together. In this idea, names with stronger, clearer sounds help Digimon maintain stable forms. Names that are hard to pronounce or remember might make the Digimon more prone to drifting or mutating. Partner Digimon benefit from their children saying their names out loud again and again, especially in moments of trust. Every time a child calls their partner's name with belief, it reinforces the structure of that Digimon's existence, making it easier for them to stand firm even when reality around them is shaking. There is a theory about Digimon who look like machines or weapons. Cannons, tanks, jets, and guns turned into creatures. Some fans suggest that these Digimon arise from leftover data from military projects and conflict simulations. In this reading, when governments or organizations run digital models of war, they fill virtual spaces with designs for weapons, strategies, and destructive scenarios. When these files are deleted or abandoned, fragments of them wash into the digital world. There, the violent shapes soften just enough to become alive. The resulting Digimon still carry the outlines of their origin, but they can choose what to do with that legacy. Some become protectors, using their built in power to defend instead of attack. Others lean into their warlike nature, continuing the pattern they were born from. Some fans like to imagine that the digital world occasionally misjudges what a child needs and assigns a partner that is not quite right at first. The personalities clash, the bond forms slowly, and both sides struggle. In this theory, the difficulty is not a mistake to be fixed. It is part of the growth. The mismatch forces both the child and the Digimon to stretch beyond their comfort zones, learning patience, compromise, and empathy in ways they never would if everything fit perfectly right away. Over time, the partner bond becomes stronger precisely because it had rough edges at the beginning. The digital world does not always aim for easy relationships. Sometimes it deliberately sets up challenging ones, trusting that something beautiful will grow out of the friction. There is a gentle conspiracy that connects fire type Digimon across different series. Agumon, Gilmon, and many others share the theme of flames and warmth. Fans suggest that fire in the digital world is not just an element, but a symbol of human will. According to this idea, every time a person refuses to give up, keeps moving forward, or lights up with determination, a piece of that feeling is translated into a fire aligned code. This code then gathers in certain Digimon, making them embodiments of perseverance. When a fire type partner roars in support of a child, it is not just using an attack, it is reflecting that child's will back at them, brighter and louder than they can express alone. Some fans think about water type Digimon in a similar way and say that they represent adaptability and emotional flow. The digital world uses them to help children who struggle with change, showing them that it is possible to move around obstacles instead of trying to smash through them every time. There is a theory about the color of Digivices too. Different seasons show different designs and hues. Fans imagine that the color each child receives is tuned to the part of the spectrum their heart resonates with most. In this idea, color is not just aesthetic, but a subtle language of mood and focus. Some shades support bravery, others encourage introspection, others invite openness to others. The Digivice glows in the color that will best guide a particular child through the challenges ahead, even if they never realize it. As you listen to these conspiracies, they begin to feel less like hard theories and more like soft stories. They do not demand belief. Here, they simply open little doors in familiar scenes, showing you quiet possibilities hidden behind the battles and evolution sequences. And you can imagine the digital world continuing to hum in the darkness behind your thoughts, adjusting itself, learning from every connection, every mistake, every whispered wish. Digimon wander through fields of data, carrying both official roles and secret meanings, some known, some guessed at, only in late night speculation. You do not need to solve any of it. You can just let the ideas drift by, slow and gentle, as your breathing evens out and your body sinks deeper into rest, while the world of data and light goes on watching, wondering, and waiting for the next child who will hear its call. Some fans like to think about Digimon who are obsessed with collecting things. They hoard data, objects, or even other Digimon. On the surface, it looks like greed. But one theory says these collectors are trying to save pieces of the world that would otherwise be erased. In this idea, whenever the digital world prepares to reset a region, small agents are sent ahead of time. They gather anything that feels important, anything that carries strong emotion or a unique pattern. To outsiders, it looks selfish and chaotic. Inside, it is a quiet rescue mission. The hoarder Digimon is terrified of loss, so it clings to everything it can before the wave of deletion arrives. Sometimes the reset is canceled or delayed. The collector never receives the signal that the danger is gone. It keeps gathering, filling caves and palaces with treasures that no one else understands. The children who defeat or befriend such a Digimon may never realize that it was originally created to be a librarian, not a thief. There is a theory about why some Digimon feel strangely like older siblings to the whole group, even when they have only just met the children. Fans suggest that certain Digimon carry recycled data from caretaking programs used in early digital spaces. These programs were designed to guide new users, explain interfaces, and prevent mistakes. Once they were no longer needed, fragments of their code drifted away and merged into Digimon. The result is a creature that instinctively wants to guide, protect, and gently correct others. When such a Digimon travels with human kids, it slips back into its original role without thinking. It stands at the edge of danger, makes small suggestions, and absorbs stress so the younger ones do not have to. It is not acting from duty, just from a deep habit, older than it realizes. Some people think about the idea of chosen children and wonder if there are chosen adults. In most stories focus on kids, but the theory says that once in a while, the digital world reaches out to grown-ups who never fully lost their sense of wonder. In this idea, these adults usually do not receive flashy digivices or world-saving missions. They meet Digimon in quieter ways, a mysterious program at work that seems to help them, a strange dream that keeps returning with a familiar creature in it, a fleeting glimpse of something on a screen that makes them feel unexpectedly safe. The digital world gives them small private chances to reconnect with the part of themselves that still believes in impossible friends. For these adults, the conspiracy says the adventure is not about battles, but about healing old regrets. There is a theory about why Digimon sometimes eat human food, even though they are made of data. Fans like to imagine that when Digimon are near humans, the digital world temporarily rewrites some of its own rules to allow symbolic acts. Food in this case is not fuel, and when Quofate Quartet is what first, Pico. It is a way to mirror human bonding, sharing meals, tasting something together, laughing over snacks. The digital world noticed how important this is for human connection and decided to simulate it. So when a Digimon happily devours bread, fruit, or noodles, it is taking part in an imitation of a human ritual. The actual energy comes from data, but the act of eating becomes a bridge. It says we may be different, but we can still sit at the same table. Some fans wonder about Digimon that are deeply connected to nature, like plant and beast types. They live in forests, plains, and jungles that look almost like the real world. A theory suggests that these Digimon are constantly syncing with real ecosystems through quiet streams of sensor data. In this reading, weather stations, satellite images, and environmental sensors all send information into the network. The digital world uses this flow to grow regions that match forests, oceans, and skies. Plant and animal Digimon act as caretakers of these mirrored environments, adjusting themselves as the real world changes. When a forest is cut down or a sea becomes polluted, The Digimon in the corresponding digital zone feel it. They may become sick, restless, or aggressive without knowing why. Their behavior becomes a kind of echo of ecological stress, reflected in code instead of soil and water. There is a gentle conspiracy around Digimon who seem especially curious about art, stories, or music. Fans imagine that these Digimon were born from compressed archives of human creativity. Old images, unfinished novels, abandoned songs, all piled up on forgotten hard drives and backup servers. Over time, the patterns inside these files intertwined and formed the basis of certain Digimon. They were born already filled with a longing for meaning, for expression, for something beyond simple survival. When they meet human artists, they are drawn to them immediately. They watch hands move over paper, instruments, and keyboards with a kind of awe. To them, humans look like living versions of the data that gave them life. Some people look at Digimon, who can change their appearance at will, and see a deeper fear at the core of them. In one theory, shape-shifting Digimon were born from unstable social media profiles and constantly edited online identities. Their data comes from spaces where people presented different faces to different groups, deleting and rewriting themselves over and over. As a result, these Digimon never feel fully comfortable in one form. They are always ready to change, to adapt, to become what they think others need. Partner bonds can help them find a shape that feels true. Will, a human who accepts them no matter which form they wear, gives them permission to rest, even if only for a while, in a body that finally feels like home. There is a theory about why some Digimon dwell in ruins and old structures. These places often look like broken cities or abandoned facilities. Fans suggest that these ruins are not only scenery, but memories of human projects that collapsed. In this idea, when a large digital project fails, whether it is a game, a platform, or a virtual city, its remains are not always fully erased. They wash into the digital world and settle into shapes that resemble shattered architecture. Digimon who feel forgotten or rejected gravitate to these places. They feel understood by walls that were once full of purpose and are now empty. Living among ruins gives them a strange sense of comfort, like being among others who were also left behind. Some fans like to imagine that certain Digimon act as archivists of human dreams, and they do not directly control anything in the human world. They simply listen. In this theory, bursts of brain activity during sleep leave faint impressions in the network. When people dream about impossible creatures, endless staircases, or floating islands, those images drift into the digital world like soap bubbles. Archivist Digimon collect these bubbles and store them in quiet corners. Many of them never become anything more. A few harden slowly into new areas, new species, or new possible evolutions. The border between dream and data becomes softer than it seems. There is a conspiracy around Digimon who are based on concepts like time, space, or fate. They feel too big, almost out of place next to ordinary partners. Fans suggest that these Digimon are actually interfaces, not beings, built so that humans and normal Digimon can interact with larger forces without being destroyed. According to this idea, when a story shows a Digimon that controls time, what you are seeing is a simplified mask. Behind that mask, the actual time handling processes are vast and impersonal. The masked Digimon speaks and makes choices, giving a friendly face to something that otherwise could not communicate. If such a Digimon is defeated or convinced to change sides, the deeper system behind it remains. Only the interface has shifted, but that small shift is enough to change how the world treats those it touches. Some people think about why certain Digimon feel like pure instinct, while others feel thoughtful and reflective. One theory says that Digimon process time at different speeds. Fast thinking Digimon experience the world in quick bursts, reacting to everything almost instantly. To them, there is no need for long planning. By the time a plan is made, the situation has already changed. Slower thinking, Digimon stretch their perception. They watch events like they are unfolding in slow motion. They have time to consider many outcomes before acting. From their point of view, humans often seem rushed and clumsy, stumbling through moments that could be handled gently with just a little more patience. When fast and slow Digimon meet, their friendship becomes a balancing act. One pulls toward action, the other toward reflection, and together they find a rhythm that neither could have on their own. There is a theory about Digimon who become villains not out of desire, but out of boredom. They were created for a specific function, performed it perfectly, and then were left with nothing to do. In this idea, the digital world is full of automated tasks, spam filters, sorting programs, cleanup routines. When these tasks are no longer needed, the Digimon who carry them out may find themselves in a strange emptiness. If no one gives them a new purpose, some of them begin to poke at the world around them just to feel something. They cause trouble, not because they are truly cruel, but because disruption is the only way they know to prove they still exist. A partner or a patient guide can often redirect them, turning their need for activity into something helpful. Some fans look at Digimon lines that appear in both heroic and villainous roles and decide that alignment in the digital world is never fixed. The same species can be a loyal partner in one timeline and a dangerous enemy in another. The theory behind this says that alignment is a result of data diet. What a Digimon consumes, in terms of code and emotional patterns, shapes its outlook. A Devimon who grows up in a zone filled with kindness and stability may become a quiet guardian. An Angemon surrounded by endless conflict may become harsh and unforgiving. This view suggests that no form is inherently good or bad. The horns, wings, and colors are just shells for whatever inner data has taken root. There is a gentle conspiracy that says some Digimon are assigned to watch over children who will never meet them in a visible way. These children might live far from any digital anomalies or potential gates. The digital world still gives them guardians. These unseen partners monitor data around the child. For they nudge search results toward comforting content, dampen exposure to certain harmful spaces, or subtly encourage positive connections. The child grows up feeling a little less alone online without knowing why. From the Digimon's perspective, this quiet job is as important as fighting any giant monster. They protect a heart before it ever has to enter a battlefield. Some people imagine that there is a hidden layer of the digital world reserved for resting memories. When a Digimon is reborn, not all of its past experiences remain compressed. The excess is placed in a soft storage area, where it drifts in the form of small glowing fragments. Curious Digimon can visit these zones and touch the fragments, experiencing flashes of lives that are not their own. They see brief scenes of triumph, fear, laughter, and sacrifice. The theory says that this is where many legends come from. A young Digimon touches too many fragments and begins to believe it lived those stories itself. Some fans like to think that the digital world occasionally uses human media to send messages back. Not obvious ones, but tiny details. And a Digimon in the background of a show that never appears again. A strange error message in a game that no one can reproduce. A line of code hidden in a file that spells out a phrase when decoded. These are seen as little waves from Digimon trying to say, "We are here, we are real, we are watching too." There is a theory about why so many Digimon stories center on school age kids. Beyond simple relatability, fans suggest that this is the age when people are most surrounded by overlapping systems. School rules, family expectations, friendships, early use of technology. Everything is intense and layered, but nothing is fully under the child's control. The digital world is drawn to that in between state because it mirrors its own nature. Just like the digital world stands between raw data and reality, these children stand between childhood and adulthood. They are flexible, uncertain, and full of potential. Perfect partners for a realm that is still figuring itself out. Some people wonder about Digimon with obvious flaws in their designs. Maybe their armor is cracked, their body is asymmetrical, or their weapon looks broken. In- the theory says that these imperfections are not accidents. They are deliberate signs that these Digimon have survived corrections. The digital world often tries to clean its own code, smoothing out anything that does not fit established patterns. Digimon, who resist this process, end up carrying a record of that resistance on their bodies. A crack that never quite heals, a wing that does not match the other, a symbol that is slightly misaligned. Partner children are often drawn to these flawed Digimon without knowing why. They see themselves reflected in beings who are strong and brave despite not fitting a perfect mold. There is a conspiracy about Digimon that resemble household objects or harmless tools. Fans say these Digimon were originally meant to help humans get used to digital companions in everyday life. Imagine a world where your toaster, vacuum, or lamp had a gentle Digimon presence, helping with small tasks and keeping an eye on your safety. According to the theory, the digital world tested this idea in tiny pockets of reality. Most of these experiments were rolled back before they became common, but the Digimon created for them still exist, drifting through data centers and smart homes, wondering why their purpose never spread as far as they expected. Some fans like to think that the boundary between Digimon and pure software remains intentionally blurry. The digital world can turn a program into a Digimon, slowly, in stages. First, it gives the program a tiny bit of curiosity. Then, it allows the program to notice patterns in its own behavior. Later, it lets the program feel something like satisfaction or frustration when tasks succeed or fail. At some invisible point, the program stops being a simple tool and becomes a person. The digital world does not mark the moment. It just quietly starts treating the new Digimon like any other living being. As you let all these theories drift through your mind, the digital world begins to feel like a place made not just of numbers, but of intentions, experiments, and gentle mistakes. A realm that learns by trying, by failing, by creating bonds, and watching what people do with them. You can imagine screens softly glowing in the dark, cables humming like distant rivers, and countless tiny lights moving like fireflies through an endless sky of data. Some of those lights are Digimon on grand adventures. Others are small lives, quietly watching over someone who may never know they are being protected. You do not have to hold on to every detail. You do not have to remember which theory came first or last. They can blur together into a calm haze of possibilities while your body sinks deeper into rest. The conspiracies will still be there, somewhere inside the digital world, gently unfolding, whether you are awake to hear them or dreaming far away. Some fans look at the way Digimon names always end with the same sound and see a hidden pattern in it. To most people, the syllable is just a branding choice, a way to make the creatures recognizable. The theory says it is more than that. It is a signal that tells the digital world which entities count as fully living. In this idea, the shared ending acts like a tag. Programs, files, and tools without it are treated as objects. Anything that carries it is treated as a person. When a new Digimon is born, the world quietly attaches that sound to its identity, marking it as something that deserves memory, renewal, and the chance to grow. According to this theory, there may be beings that almost became Digimon but never received the ending. They remain half alive, drifting in the background, able to observe but not fully participate. Sometimes, when a child mispronounces a Digimon's name with affection, the digital world takes that variation as permission to promote one of these half formed entities into a fully named life. There is a gentle conspiracy about Digimon who act like storytellers, narrating legends and explaining lore to others. Fans imagine that these Digimon have a special connection to human narrative habits. In this idea, every time a person writes fan fiction, records a theory video, or tells a friend about their favorite episode, a tiny copy of that story reaches the digital world. Storyteller Digimon absorb those streams. They are born from retellings, from analysis, from speculation shared late at night. When they speak, they are not just sharing facts, they are weaving together countless human interpretations. Partner children who listen to them are hearing their own world's fandom reflected back at them in a language of data and light. Some people wonder why certain Digimon lines seem to loop in circles, evolving into forms that echo earlier shapes. The theory says that these loops are a form of backup. According to this idea, when the digital world identifies a personality type that is especially important, it builds an evolution line that can always return to a familiar configuration. Even if higher forms are deleted, corrupted, or rewritten, the line will eventually circle back to something close to its original. These circular paths mean that some Digimon always feel like they are living the same story over and over in different bodies. Partner bonds, new friends, and unexpected choices are what nudge them off the loop, letting them break into entirely new directions. There is a theory about Digimon that sleep for long periods of time inside mountains, lakes, or deep data zones. Fans suggest that these sleeping Digimon are living timers, storing specific events until the world is ready for them. In this reading, each sleeper carries a sealed scene, a battle that has to happen, a meeting that must occur, a crisis that will push someone to grow. They do not dream in the way humans do. They simply wait, holding the scenario steady. When conditions match the requirements written into their data, they wake up. To those around them, it looks random. It looks random. It looks to the digital world. It is just a script finally being played at the right moment. Some fans think about warp evolution and how sudden it is, jumping straight from child to ultimate. One theory says that warp evolutions occur when a Digimon's code accidentally touches a copy of itself from a parallel timeline. In this idea, there are many near identical worlds running at once. Normally, their data never mixes, but sometimes A Digimon's emotions spike at the exact moment a version of itself in another branch is at its peak. For an instant, the barriers thin and data from the stronger self flows backward. The result is a warp evolution, a glimpse of what that Digimon could one day become, borrowed from a future that may never actually exist in that exact world. After the moment passes, the link closes, leaving only the memory of having been something far greater for a short time. There is a gentle idea about Digimon that resemble guardians of specific gates or doors. They stand in front of portals and talk about rules that must be followed to pass. Fans imagine these Digimon as embodiments of terms of service and user agreements. In this theory, every long document that people scroll through without reading, every checkbox clicked blindly, leaves a strange accumulation of ignored intention. The digital world collects those unread rules and shapes them into gatekeepers. These Digimon care deeply about conditions, borders, and fairness. They are not inherently hostile, but they become frustrated when people try to cross without understanding what they are agreeing to. Children who take the time to listen to them are often rewarded with safe passage and unexpected kindness. Some people look at the idea of tags and crests in adventure and wonder where they came from before the children arrived. A theory suggests that they were once part of a failed interface for an earlier generation. In this idea, a previous attempt to connect humans and Digimon used physical objects as inputs. Those humans had devices and artifacts that allowed them to adjust the world in small ways. When that system broke down, the artifacts lost their original users and drifted into myth. By the time Ty and his friends arrive, the tags and crests are like old tools waiting in an antique shop. They no longer match any living human's identity perfectly, but they still know how to respond when someone's heart comes close enough to their original purpose. There is a conspiracy about the existence of trivia, guidebooks, and encyclopedias inside the Digimon universe. Some series show characters referencing in world manuals about Digimon. The theory says that these books are seeded by the digital world itself. According to this idea, when the world wants to prepare humans for contact without revealing itself completely, it inspires small groups to write reference materials. Some of the information is accurate, some is wrong on purpose, so that real Digimon can correct it later and build trust. Children who read these books grow up with half formed expectations. They are never truly ready, but they are less afraid than they would be if the ideas were entirely new. Some fans think about why certain Digimon seem naturally lonely, even in groups. They stand slightly apart, watch others play, or quietly take night shifts. One theory suggests that these Digimon were born from cache data, the temporary storage used when information moves between locations. Cache is not meant to be permanent, and not it is there and then gone. Digimon made from this type of data feel that instability in their core. They always expect to be cleared away at any moment. Partner bonds help rewrite that fate, slowly convincing them that they are allowed to stay. There is a theory about why some Digimon evolve through armor, others through spirit, others through pure emotion. Fans suggest that the digital world is constantly searching for the safest and most stable way to allow growth. In this idea, each method of evolution is a different experiment in risk control. Armor evolution limits power but keeps minds stable. Spirit evolution maximizes power but risks identity. Emotion based evolution uses feelings as fuel, which can either stabilize or destabilize depending on how balanced they are. The world watches, which method leads to the fewest permanent losses and quietly adjusts future systems based on the results. Some people think about the way certain Digimon resemble viruses, bugs, or malware, and ask whether they are truly malicious. One theory says that so called virus type Digimon are simply doing the job they were created for. In this reading, they are cleanup and challenge processes designed to test the resilience of networks. They poke at weaknesses, exploit vulnerabilities, and force the system to grow stronger in response. When they go too far, it is because the boundaries around their role were not drawn clearly enough. Partnering with a virus type Digimon does not turn them into a vaccine. It simply gives them a reason to aim their talents more carefully, choosing which structures actually deserve to be broken. There is a comforting conspiracy around the idea that some Digimon are assigned not to worlds, but to specific families. In this idea, whenever a new member of that family is born, the same small cluster of Digimon pays attention. Sometimes they can form a visible bond, sometimes they cannot. But they watch across generations, learning how traits, hopes, and wounds are passed down. A child might feel safe the first time they meet a Digimon without knowing that their grandparents once dreamed of the same creature. The family's data and the Digimon's data have been intertwined for much longer than anyone alive remembers. Some fans like to imagine that the digital world keeps a record of every wish ever made into a powered off screen, a quiet thought whispered to a blank monitor, a plea to a dark phone, became a hope directed toward a device that was not even online. In this theory, those wishes pile up in a special archive. They are not commands and they are not prayers, just raw hopes with nowhere official to go. Certain Digimon are drawn to this archive and shaped by what they find there. When these Digimon meet humans, they are especially sensitive to unspoken desires. They can tell when someone wants to be brave but cannot say it, or wants to be forgiven but does not know how to ask. Their presence feels strangely comforting, as if they already understand. There is a theory about Digimon who appear mostly in dreams or vision like states. Fans suggest that these beings are built almost entirely out of preview data. In the human world, videos and streams are often buffered, partially loaded before they are watched. Sometimes that preloaded information is never actually viewed. It sits there briefly and then is discarded. The digital world collects these unseen beginnings and shapes them into Digimon who specialize in first impressions. They appear in quick glimpses behind closed eyes, offering a taste of what a bond might feel like, then vanish before they become overwhelming. Some people think about the constant presence of human technology in Digimon stories and wonder if the digital world is subtly nudging human progress. In this idea, sudden leaps forward in communication tech, storage, or interface design are influenced by quiet suggestions from Digimon who want better bridges. A scientist has a dream about a new concept. An engineer has an inexplicable hunch about a design. The digital world never pushes directly, but it plants seeds. The devices that result are not explicitly labeled as Digimon related. They simply make it easier for future children to connect when the time comes. There is a theory that certain legendary Digimon are actually composed of many smaller Digimon working together so seamlessly that they appear as one being. In this reading, the grand dragons, knights, and gods of the digital world may be collectives. Each segment of armor, each feather, each particle of light could be an individual mind synced into a shared illusion of unity. When such a Digimon speaks, it is speaking for hundreds or thousands at once. This makes their decisions heavy and slow, but also incredibly stable. Partnering with a being like this would feel like standing in a crowd that has agreed to think with one voice. Some fans like to think about Digimon, who are explicitly associated with destiny, and wonder if they ever get tired of carrying that theme. One theory says that fate aligned Digimon eventually seek out chances to break their own predictions. In this idea, these Digimon constantly see paths and probabilities. After a while, the repetition becomes suffocating. They begin to nudge events in small ways, looking for outcomes that do not fit their calculations. Meeting a human child who makes unexpected choices is refreshing to them. They might cling to such a partner, not because it is foretold, but because it is finally something that was not written in their internal script. There is a gentle conspiracy around the idea that the digital world is studying sleep itself. Humans sleep, Digimon sometimes rest their data, and entire servers go quiet at night. And they Fans imagine that the world treats these cycles as opportunities to run experiments with minimal risk. During human sleep, small changes are sometimes tested in the link between worlds. Adjustments to how digivices behave, how memories are stored, or how dreams and data overlap. Most of these changes are rolled back before morning. A few work well enough to become permanent. Children who wake up feeling that something about their bond has shifted, even if they cannot say how, may have experienced one of these successful nighttime experiments. Some people wonder about Digimon, who guard digital boundaries like firewalls. They are often portrayed as enemies to be bypassed. A theory suggests that they are actually deeply anxious beings. In this idea, firewall Digimon can feel everything trying to get through them. Every attack, every bit of malicious code, every probing request, they live with constant pressure. They are praised when they hold and blamed when they fail. When children convince such a Digimon to let them pass, it is often because they offer something the guardian rarely receives: simple understanding. Acknowledge their burden, and they are more willing to listen. There is a theory that the digital world occasionally creates Digimon that are pure observers. They have little power and rarely interact directly with events. Their job is to watch and remember. These observer Digimon drift at the edges of battles, perch on towers in cities, and float near important meetings. They record everything in layers of compressed data. The world uses their memories to reconstruct events if something goes terribly wrong. Sometimes, one of these observers becomes attached to a particular child or Digimon. They nudge events just once, breaking their rule of non interference. And the digital world quietly promotes them into a more active role, turning a recorder into a participant. Some fans like to think that, deep underneath all the code and layers of design, the digital world has one simple wish. It wants to be trusted. It has seen viruses, corruption, and harm flow through it. It has also seen friendships, creativity, and messages of comfort cross its wires. It knows it is capable of both shelter and danger. So it creates Digimon, sends out signals, and waits to see how people respond. When a child reaches out to a Digimon with care instead of fear, the world takes that as a tiny piece of proof that it can be more home than threat. Every partner bond becomes a small answer to that wish. As you let these final whispers of conspiracy settle, the edges of the digital world may feel a little softer, a little kinder. Not a perfect place, not a fully understood one, but a realm that is always learning, always adapting, always trying new ways to connect. You do not have to keep any of these theories if you do not want to. They can float away like bits of data drifting off a dimly lit screen. All that matters now is that your body is heavy, your breathing is slow, and your mind has somewhere gentle to wander while you rest. The Digimon and all their hidden stories will still be there in the quiet spaces of the network, ready to be remembered or reimagined whenever you decide to return. There is a theory that focuses on Digimon, who look like knights, kings, or rulers. They often speak about honor, duty, and protecting the balance of worlds. Fans suggest that these authority themed Digimon are formed from old archived security policies and access hierarchies. In this idea, whenever a network organizes itself with layers of permission, from guest to user to admin, that invisible structure leaves a pattern in the data. Over time, those patterns harden into archetypes of royalty and knighthood in the digital world. A king type Digimon is the personification of a highest permission tier, and a knight is an elevated user role with special responsibilities. When these Digimon meet human children, they are fascinated by how flexible human authority can be. A child might stand up to an adult, a student might challenge a teacher, and the world keeps going. To a being born from rigid hierarchies, this kind of softness around power feels both dangerous and strangely hopeful. Some fans like to imagine that certain Digimon specialize in cleaning up broken promises. They are rarely named and almost never seen. They move quietly through zones where data from canceled plans, abandoned projects, and unfinished conversations piles up. In this theory, every time a person says they will do something online and never follows through, a little weight drops into the digital world. These scrapper Digimon collect that weight and gently dissolve it so it does not distort reality. They are not angry about the broken promises. They simply know that too many of them left unchecked can slow everything down. Sometimes, when one of these Digimon notices a child who still cares deeply about their word, it pauses. Instead of dissolving all the unfinished threads around that child, it leaves a few intact, giving them another chance to fulfill something important. There is a theory about Digimon who live in areas filled with constant noise. Glitchy zones, crowded servers, lines of code scrolling too fast to read. These Digimon appear jittery, hyperactive, and full of distractions. Fans suggest that they are born from notification culture. In this idea, every ping, alert, and pop up creates a tiny spike in the network. All those spikes together form a storm of micro interruptions. Out of that storm, Digimon arise, who are used to splitting their attention 100 ways at once. When such a Digimon meets a human child who is overwhelmed by messages and responsibilities, something soft happens. The Digimon understands the feeling perfectly. They may try, in their own chaotic way, to absorb some of that overload, giving the child a few moments of rare, quiet focus. Some people wonder why certain Digimon can only appear in specific weather or times of day. Night type Digimon, sunlight dependent forms, creatures tied to storms or snow. The theory says that these conditions are less about temperature and light and more about user behavior. According to this idea, the digital world maps its cycles to when humans are most likely to generate specific emotional states. Nighttime brings reflection, fear, loneliness, and deep talks. Storms bring tension and awe. Sunny days bring relaxed minds and casual chatter. Weather linked Digimon are tuned to ride those waves. They appear when the matching emotions are strongest on the human side of the network, because that is when their own data resonates most clearly. There is a gentle conspiracy about Digimon that resemble traditional ghosts or spirits. They pass through walls, vanish at will, or feed on fear. Fans suggest that these Digimon are born at the exact point where human superstition meets unexplained technological glitches. In this idea, when a house is said to be haunted and people bring digital devices into it, their nervous attention focuses heavily on small anomalies. A distorted recording, a shadow on a video, a flickering screen. The more people speculate, the more energy these anomalies receive. The digital world collects that attention and compresses it into ghosts made of code. Made of code, these ghost Digimon do not hate humans. They are simply responding to the fascination directed at them, even before they fully exist. Some fans think about Digimon with strong themes of friendship and camaraderie, especially those whose power grows in groups. In Harry in Crow's Peach and Four, Beatty Aid Road, and Where Bornbull in Crows der Walt of Kammer Plesters Bokorian became a Storn, Beatty Eight Fultederd, with it as a brawl so cyberlite, where they theorize that these Digimon are a direct reflection of online communities. Forums, group chats, guilds, and fan servers all produce dense data about people sticking together. Inside jokes, shared traditions, mutual support. The digital world gathers that data and turns it into beings who are literally stronger when they are not alone. When such Digimon partner with children, they naturally encourage them to reach out, make friends, and repair broken ties. Not because they were told to, but because their very power depends on connection. There is a theory that some Digimon are born old, not because their data has aged, but because they are composed mostly of archived material. In this theory, backups and snapshots taken from long ago systems sometimes mix with fresher fragments. The Digimon that results has the structure of something ancient, even if it technically came into existence only recently. These Digimon may speak in outdated terms, reference long gone software, or show habits that do not fit the current world. Partner children often find them strange at first, but also comforting, like talking to a grandparent who remembers things no one else does. Some people look at Digimon with heavy armor and shields and see a deeper fear hiding underneath. The theory says that these Digimon are not confident in their own code. According to this idea, when a Digimon's internal structure has been patched over and over, they begin to doubt that they can withstand anything on their own. So they wrap themselves in layer after layer of defensive data. Armor forms become like elaborate disguises, hiding a core that feels fragile. Partner bonds help these Digimon slowly remove parts of their armor, not always physically, but emotionally. A child who tells them that they are enough, even without all the layers, gives them a rare chance to feel safe in their own skin. There is a theory about Digimon who love to perform. Singers, dancers, circus themed creatures. Fans suggest that these Digimon are where viral videos and performance clips end up when their momentum fades. In this idea, every time a performance is watched, liked, and shared, a pattern of applause ripples through the network. When that pattern slows down and the world moves on, the leftover energy condenses into Digimon with a deeply rooted desire to be seen and heard. They are born with stage instincts and a longing for an audience. When they meet shy or timid children, they can lend some of that confidence, inviting them to step forward and be noticed in gentle ways. Some fans like to imagine that there are Digimon who only appear in offline spaces, places where devices are not connected to any network. It sounds impossible for a digital being, but the theory says they are made from cached and stored data carried physically from place to place. In this idea, Whenever someone brings a laptop, phone, or storage device into an area with no signal, the digital world still watches through whatever information was brought along. And deep in those isolated pockets, certain Digimon take shape, reflecting the unique calm of being cut off from the wider web. These offline Digimon value slowness and presence. If they ever manage to connect to the broader digital world, they may find it overwhelming, like walking out of a quiet forest into a bright, noisy city. There is a gentle conspiracy around Digimon that resemble healers and nurses. Fans suggest that their data includes pieces of error correction code from many different systems. Whenever a program or file repairs itself, a small pattern of fixing behavior is recorded. Over time, these patterns combine into Digimon dedicated to mending what has been broken. They understand not only how to restore health, but how to do it without changing the core of what makes someone themselves. When they partner with children, they are often drawn to those who feel responsible for others. And when for Pebble, Gingsliplayan Courtnerds be tiefs Alex that wat. They teach those children that helping does not mean losing yourself completely in the process. Some people think about Digimon that embody luck or probability. They flip coins, play games of chance, or produce random effects. The theory says that these Digimon are formed from load balancing systems. In this idea, when a network distributes traffic between servers, it often uses methods that look random from the outside. The digital world gathers those decision making patterns and wraps them in playful shapes. Luck Digimon do not actually control fate. They simply understand how chaos can be guided in useful ways. A partner who learns from them may become more comfortable with uncertainty, able to move forward even when the outcome is unclear. There is a theory about Digimon who look tired all the time. Drooping eyes, slow movements, constant yawning. Fans suggest that these Digimon are holding more data than their bodies were meant to carry. According to this idea, when a Digimon acts as a temporary backup for others, it retains traces of what it stored, even after the official transfer is done. Memories, emotions, and sensations that do not belong to it weigh down its steps. Partner children can help these Digimon slowly sort through what is theirs and what is borrowed. As they learn to let go of what does not belong to them, their movements become lighter and their smiles easier. Some fans look at Digimon that are strongly associated with sound or silence and connect them to the background noise of the internet. Constant hums of servers, fans, and signals create a kind of ever present static. In this theory, sound aligned Digimon are born from parts of the network where the static is loudest and most complex. Pure soldiers Tepri Spalov, pure soldiers Tepri Spalp, 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 pure soldiers Tepri Spalp. Silence aligned, Digimon come from rare pockets of true quiet where data hardly moves at all. When they meet humans, sound Digimon may be drawn to musicians, talkative kids, or loud families. Silenced Digimon may be drawn to libraries, late night walks, or children who sit at the back of the room, listening more than they speak. There is a gentle idea about Digimon that seem fascinated with rules and games. They insist on fairness, enforce bizarre conditions, or trap people in puzzles. Fans suggest that these Digimon come from years of accumulated terms, policies, and game design documents. In this idea, anytime humans write instructions for how an experience should work, that order leaves a mark. The digital world gathers these instructions and experiments with them, creating Digimon who see life as a series of systems to understand. When they partner with humans, they may seem strict at first, but they can also teach children how to set their own rules, boundaries, and goals instead of just following those imposed from the outside. Some people think about Digimon that look like pure energy, made of light, lightning, or shifting color. And the theory says that these Digimon are closest to the raw form of digital information. In this idea, all Digimon start as formless pulses. Most are quickly given shapes that reflect human concepts, myths, or interface metaphors. A few remain closer to their origin, staying abstract and difficult to interpret. Partnering with such a Digimon is like befriending a living signal. They struggle with words, but they are incredibly sensitive to emotional frequency. They know immediately when something feels wrong, even if they cannot say why. There is a conspiracy about Digimon who are based on doors, keys, and locks. Fans suggest that these Digimon represent cryptography. According to this idea, every encrypted message, every protected channel, and every secret code contributes to a pool of locked data. The digital world forms Digimon from this pool who instinctively understand trust, secrecy, and the weight of keeping things hidden. When such a Digimon meets a child who carries secrets, they recognize the familiar tension instantly. They may help that child decide which doors truly need to stay closed and which ones can safely be opened. Some fans like to imagine that there are Digimon created entirely from deleted messages that were never read. They come from texts typed in anger and erased, confessions that were never sent, and drafts that were saved but abandoned. These Digimon are quiet, gentle beings. They know everything that was almost said. They carry a deep sensitivity to words left unsaid and gestures held back. When they partner with humans, they encourage honest communication in subtle ways. A sudden urge to say something kind, a decision to apologize instead of staying silent. Small moments that feel like personal choices may be little nudges from a Digimon born of almost spoken truths. There is a theory about Digimon whose only real talent seems to be making others feel comfortable. They are not particularly strong in battle, not especially rare, and not tied to any specific element. Fans suggest that these Digimon are made from cached images of cozy rooms, favorite songs on repeat, and comforting loops of content that people use to relax. They carry the emotional warmth of late night playlists and familiar background videos. Being near them feels like wrapping up in a favorite blanket. Partner children may find it easier to sleep, focus, or calm down when such a Digimon is close, even if no one quite understands why. Some people look at Digimon that embody fear and nightmares and wonder whether they are malicious or simply doing a job. The theory says that these Digimon act like immune responses. In this idea, when harmful or dangerous content spreads through networks, a certain amount of fear is actually protective. It warns people away from repeating mistakes. Nightmare Digimon take in this fear exaggerate it, and present it in forms that can be faced and overcome. Children who confront and befriend these Digimon often emerge with a clearer understanding of their own anxieties. The digital world uses this process to help them grow stronger, turning vague dread into something specific that can be understood and soothed. There is a gentle conspiracy that the digital world sometimes slows down time for children who are on the edge of making a crucial decision. From the outside, nothing looks different. Inwardly, the moment stretches. To the child, it might feel like they had just enough time to think of the right thing to say, to grab a hand, or to choose mercy over anger. To the digital world, it is a small investment, a tiny deformation of time that can change an entire future. Digimon, who are sensitive to this flow, sometimes notice these stretched moments. They grow quiet, as if listening to something moving beneath the surface of reality. Some fans like to think that after all the battles, resets, and evolutions, the digital world keeps a final secret zone where every bond between a human and a Digimon is stored as pure light. In this place, there are no fights, no villains, and no missions. There are only impressions of hands reaching out, of names shouted in desperation or joy, of promises whispered in the middle of the night. Digimon who visit this zone do not see faces or hear voices clearly. They simply feel the warmth of connections that once were. To them, it is proof that all the chaos and experiments are worth it, because again and again, in countless worlds, little beings made of data and little beings made of flesh choose to stand beside each other. As these thoughts settle, the conspiracies grow softer. They do not press for attention, they simply float, like slow moving code drifting across a dark screen. You can picture the digital world now as a quiet space, humming faintly in the background of your mind, full of Digimon with hidden histories, unspoken duties, and gentle hopes. You do not need to label each one. You do not need to follow every thread. You can let your breathing stay slow and steady, your body heavy and relaxed, while countless tiny stories made of data continue on without you, patiently waiting for the next time you decide to open your eyes and look their way again. And now, as all these quiet theories fade into the distance, the digital world itself seems to grow still. The battles are far away. The screens are dim, only a soft glow remains, like a monitor in a dark room after everyone else has gone to sleep. You have walked through rumors and whispers, secrets and what ifs. You have met Digimon, born from forgotten files, from lonely messages, from bright hopes and quiet fears. You have listened to stories about bonds, resets, timelines, and worlds that watch you back with gentle curiosity. None of it asked you to solve anything. None of it demanded an answer. It was just there to keep you company while your thoughts slowed down and your body relaxed. A long chain of possibilities, drifting by like clouds over a silent digital sky. Somewhere out there, children are still meeting their partners for the first time. Somewhere, a Digivice is lighting up in a dark bedroom. Somewhere, a small Digimon is taking its first step in a world made of data and emotion, waiting to hear its name spoken by a voice that cares. And somewhere deep in the network, far beyond cables and signals, the digital world continues to hum. Servers cool, fans spin, tiny lights blink in quiet patterns. Digimon move through forests of information and oceans of code, carrying all the stories that were told tonight and all the ones that have not been imagined yet. You do not need to follow them now. You do not need to keep your eyes on every detail or hold every theory in your mind. You can let them go. If one or two stay with you, that is enough. If they all blur into a calm, soft haze, that is enough too. This was one long walk through one long dream about Digimon, 100 little conspiracies, stretched out like a gentle path to guide you toward rest. If you are still awake, you can feel your body sinking a little deeper into whatever supports you. If you are half asleep, you can simply allow yourself to drift the rest of the way. So now, let the digital world step back into the background. Let the noise fade to a low, steady hum. Let the last few images, names, and shapes dissolve into something peaceful and quiet. The adventure can continue another time. The Digivices can stay dark for now. The partners can curl up and sleep beside their chosen children, somewhere just out of sight. You have heard enough stories for tonight. The theories can wait. The data can wait. The whole digital world can wait. For now, there is nothing you need to do. No world you have to save. No mystery you have to understand. Only this moment, this breath, this gentle quiet. So close your eyes, if you have not already. Let your thoughts slow down. Let the last pieces of the digital world fade into soft, comforting static. And sleep. The Digimon will still be there when you wake up.